So can you tell me, I mean, I've said this many times, you've seen me on video saying it, that the moment with Higgins when he made a call into your show, when I say it's my favorite thing of this whole story, what I mean is that it is so fucking absurd. And and it just struck me as like deeply funny because in large part the way you reacted to it in the moment. So can you describe what happened?
Well, there's so much more to it. And that's why I hit you up and said, let me come on your show and explain it right. When people explain it, they act like Higgins was just sitting back, in his house watching a YouTube channel. Like, oh, and of all YouTube channels he could be on, he was on the trailer. That's not what happened.
All
Don't
right.
dumb it. You can't dumb it down like that. What happened
All
was
right.
I put in the work and went out and did a reenactment video of the waterfall. Have you seen
Huh?
that? Yeah. So
No, but I'm gonna.
to show the spacing of the waterfall, to show how small it is in there, because the bug eye lens of the security camera looks like he could have been talking to anybody. And that's what they went with. But when you see the reenactment video, see the actual video is reasonable doubt, the original
Mhm.
OG footage, right? My video, the reenactment, is without a shadow of a doubt he was talking to John O'Keefe, which means
Yeah.
that he could have been whispering to him. He could have just talked to him. Hey, you coming to what? It's this close. You coming to 34 Fairview? There's all this extra stuff. So when we did the reenactment video and showed how small was in there, how small it was in there, and then also we mentioned the name as we aired the reenactment video, a cat named Seaside. Seaside is from Cambridge. He knows Higgins. We ran into him when we was in Boston, and he told us a whole bunch of things about Higgins. So we dropped that name Seaside along with the reenactment video, and we kind of knew it was going to get some type of pushback. Now, be clear, I didn't know he was going to call in, right? But I definitely thought, like, anything could happen, right? Guess what? I kept getting a restricted phone. It was a live call in, and I kept getting a restricted phone number coming in. I usually don't answer those, just you know how that goes. And then
Yeah.
finally, I was like, man, let me answer this, man. Who keeps calling me though? Right? Like, what is someone got something to say? And I answered the phone, and Kevin from South Boston. And as I'm listening, I'm like, and the first thing I say is, all right, Kevin from Southie. I already knew right off the bat, who the hell said South Boston? So I kind of let him know, like, all right, you're bullshitting. You ain't from Southie, right? All right, Kevin from Southie. And I keep listening. Now, keep in mind, like I said, I'm a videographer, and I done chopped up Higgins's voice 1,000 times in video. So as I'm listening, I'm like, is this Higgins? And that was it.
You
And
just
I
gave me the chills, by the way, because I've watched that video so many times and hearing you say, is this Higgins like in person? I know it sounds really stupid, really dumb, but like, I'm like, oh my God, he just said
Right,
it.
right. It is. And exactly what you're feeling is what I felt. Like, oh man, I can't believe this dude. Because I'm a creator, right, and I'm a deep thinker. So my mind's already think going like as this phone call's going on. As I realize it's him, I'm like, this is crazy, and that's why you get that reaction from me. Like that was Higgins, and I had to calm it down. But keep in mind, Turtle Boy was in the chat, the Glare was in the chat, and they all said it wasn't him. And if you see
Mm.
my video, I say, I don't care what anybody says. I know for a fact that was Higgins. And I said
Yeah.
it in real time. But what really stuck out to me, honestly, was not you wrong, you wrong, because he tried to butter us up like police do. I like what you
Yeah.
and James do, right? And he was trying to do a slang. And what you pointed out, which was very clever about the you, the you, the you. He has this way about him, the way he talks. He kind of, and if you read some of the text messages to Karen, like he says things like off the rip, street slang,
Yeah.
you know.
Totally.
And so
Totally.
he's got a little swag to him, huh?
Oh, he tries. He tries to. I mean, I don't know if he does, but he
That's that.
certainly,
But that's
especially when he's been drinking. Like the more he drinks, the worse he kind of gets in his text in terms of like his just like his use of language, and that's when the you keeps coming out. And I'm like, when I heard Buchanan reading those, I was like, there it is, there it is, there it
that's
is.
perfect. So I'm going to use that in one of my shows, definitely. And so anyway, what really stuck out to me though, obviously you wrong, you wrong. The sound bites are great, decorated dudes, and it's what really stuck out to me was when he started saying when he started off trying to put us over. Oh, I
Yeah.
appreciate what you guys do, right? And I'm like, okay, here we go. I knew right when he said that, there was going to be a swerve. You know,
Yeah.
I knew right when he said Kevin from South Boston. Okay, this dude ain't from South Boston. And then
That's what my husband said when he first saw it. He's like, nobody fucking says that.
bingo. And that's why I said, all right, and if you listen to what I said, all right, Kevin from Southie. You know, like letting them know, all right, well, you could be wherever you want, right? This is entertainment. Cool, cool. Okay, keep going. And then he said, I appreciate what you and James do, right? Now I'm like, all right, I know where this is going, but there's the but. And now I knew it was going to go in a different direction. But what really stuck out to me, honestly, what I took from that, other than the sound bites, he said, when this actually comes out, that she actually did it. That's what really stuck out to me because I'm like, well, what did that mean? You know what I mean? Like, do you know something I don't know? Like, he didn't say when she gets found guilty, you know?
Right.
He said when this actually comes out that she did it, like there's some type of receipt out there or something like that. So that's what always stuck out to me. And I thought that's what he was trying to get out to me personally. And then he called again. You know that, right?
No, I didn't know he called again.
Oh
What,
man,
what,
I
what
got the
happened when
video
he
up.
called again?
Yeah, so
Oh,
listen, I'm not a culture vulture, so to speak, if that's the right way to put this. So I got a phone call one night and he knows the Google Voice. I put it up on
okay.
my page. I have a video. I just recently did like a rewind video breaking this down, and I put it up so you could be the judge if it was him the second time. So now at this point, he knows how the Google thing works. So when you call
Yeah.
in Google, you say your name and there's a delay. So he called in and he said Kevin, right? And he just said Kevin this time. And I'm on the phone and I heard Kevin. Now I'm thinking, yeah, here we go with the Kevins. People call me all the time, Kevin, thinking it's funny, right? So I hear Kevin, and then he says a message on the Google. He says, "Take me off the TV. I want to talk to you." No, he said, "Listen." He used
Oh
that
my
listen
God.
again. The same way he said, "Listen, I appreciate what you and James do," right? He said it the same way. He said, "Listen, take me off the TV. I want to talk to you." So when the time I hit the button and I'm listening to that, the delay must have caught up to his to his 75-inch, and he hung up.
Yeah.
And be clear, I know a troll when I hear a troll. I never got another phone call ever again. And then I did the same thing. Listen, I want to talk to you. Take me off the TV. So basically, he sits home in his shorts with his black cat and he watches me on his TV. But check it out. And if if you make a little soundbite of this, you can play the listen, I want to talk to you, take me off the TV. And the only
Yeah.
reason why I never went totally in with it, now I'm doing it because Karen's not guilty or whatever. The reason why I didn't go totally in with it, because I didn't know 100% if it was him. I
Yeah.
knew in my heart, my belief it's him. But obviously the first one was 100% him. This one, I would say 75%, and I didn't do it. So I left it to the viewers. But where I'm at now, 100% it was him because now months has passed by and I never got another phone call ever again like that.
So, what do you think he's trying to accomplish? Like, is he trying to get you on his side so that you change your mind? Like, that's the whole thing. Was he just trying to get somebody supports Brian Higgins like into the world? Like, why do you think he picked you? What do you think he was trying to accomplish?
I mean, because what I represent the struggle. I represent the system. I'm a real guy. I've been there. I've been
Yeah.
on the side. I've been on where Karen is. Karen was sitting on the side of that table. I've been there. I've been in the courthouse basements, and he knows it. And he knows me
Mm.
and James. He knows what we represent. And I just think other creators, he couldn't reach out to him. I felt that he felt the connection. He's from Cambridge. I'm a Lynn dude. I've been around though. He might know somebody I know. I don't know. It's a small earth. Like I said, we mentioned Seaside, and he knew we talked to his boy. And when we mentioned Seaside and the things that we mentioned, and keep in mind, one of his ex girls hit me up too. Um, so basically, what went down after that, the aftermath of it, is his one of his ex girls hit me up in March of 2022. He went on Match.com. So a month after this whole shit goes down, he goes on Match.com, and guess what?
Shut the fuck up. I had no idea.
Oh yeah. See, you're learning everything. This is what I'm saying.
Do
People
you
don't.
have a screen cap of his profile so I can read
No,
what
I
he
don't have.
said about
I don't
it?
have that. But I know this is all factual. And when I tell you this
Okay.
is factual, I would never ever tell you this if it wasn't
I have
factual.
no reason to not believe you.
So
So
his
keep
girl,
going.
his ex girl, hit me up, and
Yeah.
he went on Match.com. He got with a professional woman, kind of like yourself, kind of like a Karen, right? And the same age. It wasn't a younger girl. It was like around. I'm 49, so it was around our age group. And
Yeah.
she was doing her thing. And he March of 2022 though. right after this happened, like dead after it happened. So within a year, everything was great with them. They had a great
Yeah.
relationship. She was telling me everything about him, the craziest things. He was sending her pictures of him and Brian A with guns and all types of shit.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah, but then all of a sudden, it took a turn. Turtle Boy pops out. Everything starts going crazy. She starts hearing about it. And he tells her, don't ever talk about that ever again. And he starts acting different, put it that way. And then
Wow.
their relationship went from this fairy tale relationship to this weirdness. Like, this is, it's my work. Don't ever talk about it. He was doing weird things, like a lot of weird things, put it that way. That I know. I could tell you off screen some stuff, blow your mind. But he was doing a lot of stuff. And after hearing what she said, that's why I go so hard on Higgins. Because I know within that time frame, if you had nothing to do with it, you wouldn't have did them weird things, and you wouldn't have put your stress on your woman's shoulders.
Yeah.
If you got a murder that you're hiding, you really can't not put it on anybody else's shoulders. You're gonna be stressed
Yeah.
out, paranoid, especially when you're a cop. So there's a lot of layers to it for sure.
There are. It sounds like he was willing to go like the rest of his life and like never think about this again. So he had to surround himself with all new people, right? And when she triggered that, because what Turtle Boy started writing in April of 2023, right around the time the FBI started poking around. So she brings it up, and so it's like tainted now. So then he completely changes. So he would have been eventually probably like a dick to her, eventually, right?
Eventually. Well, he got the West Roxbury house. He got a house in the Cape. That's his whole gig. He's doing good for himself, man. His bio's
How?
awesome.
I know that, but like these guys,
Exactly.
one of the things they make so much fucking money. When I look at like, I'm sorry I'm swearing so much, but like
That's
it
all
blows
right.
my mind. When I look at like what they make in overtime, what they make for going to other officers' funerals, and you add it all up, and they're making $300,000-$400,000 a year. Higgins probably, I don't know what he's making, but I'm sure it's
He was
searchable.
a lieutenant
But
for the
like,
Cambridge Fire Department too.
yeah,
He
yeah.
was an
So he probably
arson
had a
officer,
pension from that, right? And then he was probably double dipping.
and he doesn't
That's
have to pay
wild.
certain taxes because he's a vet too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
These guys,
he's got to
man.
figure it out, man. He's got to figure it out. He had the house in West Roxbury. That's where they met. Then it's like, hey, you want to go to the Cape? Like right now, it's July. You want to go to the Cape? I got a whole fucking house. Let's he's the man.
Yeah.
This woman had a kid. He did a lot of he inserted himself in the life with the kid. Got on group chats, did a lot of things for her, for her and her daughter. But he bought her a car. I'll say this: he bought her a car. His daughter a car. Her daughter a car, and they sold that shit. They got rid of it. That's how bad they don't like this dude. They don't want
Yeah.
nothing to do with him because they feel like the same way you said you got chills when I said, "Is this Higgins?" The same way when they started putting it together, like, wow.
Yeah.
He
I call it the douche chills, by the way.
right. So whatever, he just the fact that the way he was moving in March of 2022 to feed his ego. Let me go on Match.com and let me get with another girl. He probably felt like he needed validation since he dropped the ball with Carrie. Because Karen was doing everything, and I mean this with all due respect, because I am talking to a woman. But I'll say this, Karen was doing everything she could in her power to come through, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Come on, come by, right?
Yeah,
And he's
she was
like,
she was DTF 100%.
yeah, there we go. You said it. I did. Disclaimer. You know what I
It's
mean?
right there in the text. I don't
Yeah.
think that I'm reading anything into it that isn't there. But also they did like have an evening together where like
They
she
did.
went to his place. And
Right.
I've always believed, and this is none of my fucking business and it's not judgy, but I'm like, did something more happen there than them just making out? And it was so bad, or whatever happened there was so bad that she's like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna like
Well, what did he
back the
say? Did
fuck
he
off.
talk shit about John that night? Like, if John, like you said, if something did happen, and she goes, well, what if John found out? Is that when he talks shit about John? Another thing is too, the only person said that it never happened was Higgins. So you
Yeah.
can't have your cake and eat it too. So we
Yeah.
we, we want to believe that Higgins is a liar about everything, but we believe him on that. We believe what
It's
he
in the
said.
text, but it's in the text that she was at his place and
No,
then
no,
went
no,
home. And
I'm
he's like,
saying
yeah,
100%. But when he was on the stand and he said that, oh, she came by and it was just awkward and she left, right? And that's what everybody hinges their opinion on. Oh, they never did nothing. But where did you hear it from? You heard it from Higgins. So
come
you don't
on.
believe him. You don't believe him any other way, but you believe him that way. So, like you said, it could have definitely went down, and that's their business. But what always got me with this case is, and the biggest problem with this case that always blows my mind. It's just the car ride from the Waterfall to 34 Fairview. Um, I talked about the sound bites early on. I got so much pushback. I said I knew Hank Brennan was going to come in and use the sound bites. Obviously Karen is free. It doesn't really make a difference, but I knew he was going to use all them sound bites. And then when the new video came out, the recent one that just passed, like right when trial started in April, the Max one, I was like, oh my God, this is even crazier. And my main thing was I always told her to do a new sound bite. I basically always used to say on my show, Karen, where you go, people follow. Maybe you should
Yeah.
start a YouTube channel, say a couple of things like, hey, everybody, check that Waterfall video out, or check this out, or check that out. Because I find it hard to believe that she didn't know what was going on. Because if we want to think third party culprit and we want to think that this happened on site, boom, right? Then it had to
That's
start.
exactly it. Fast, right?
Yeah,
Whatever happened, happened
and if it
fast.
happened fast, but it had to start somewhere, right? So where were they right before the Waterfall? Who did he get in the? So if we're gonna give Karen the props and say, oh, when she was in the bar, she didn't know what was going on. Well, I don't know about that because Higgins was there. She had to be hella awkward knowing he was there. Then the text came in, well, whether she seen it or she didn't see it, but she did testify that she had her head down in front of 34 Fairview looking at text. So did she see it then? But to back it up just a little bit, what happened when John got in the car after he seen Higgins, in Big Bad Brian A basically punking him. And then keep in mind, he texts Jen McCabe. He texts Jen McCabe, what's the address? He's a police officer. Police officers is what they do. Control to seven, seven to control. Go to 34 Fairview. On my way. That's it. There's no, let's talk about it for over a minute. Guess what? Jen McCabe called him. If you look at the video in the Waterfall, Jen McCabe exactly at 11:58 is walking around John. She's frazzled. She's going crazy. If you got to go check out some of my videos of the Waterfall if you haven't seen them. And
I'm gonna.
yeah, I just did the Jen McCabe one. I've been going line for like circling back, putting them all in the scope. But Jen McCabe, she was acting very erratic at the Waterfall, and she was looking right at Higgins because John was at the bar paying the tab. And then he turned around and he just seen them acting up. And he was like, you? He was like, what? What? Like, what? You guys are clowns. He couldn't believe it. He
Yeah.
knew what was going on. He peeped it. And when he got in the car with Karen, the question is, what type of time was John on? It didn't make a difference. Karen, everybody keeps saying, well, Karen didn't care about Higgins. Well, what did John feel? Did he feel slighted? So when he was in the car, what was being said between Jen McCabe and John? Karen's right there. What was being said? Then right around that time at 12:20, you come in here. How'd he get out the car? And obviously he got out the car and he went right in to go talk to Higgins or wherever he
I
went to go
agree.
talk to. And
I agree.
the reason why I feel that Karen left, because she was nervous that he was gonna go in there and they were gonna all buddy up with each other. And Higgins was gonna say, hey, look what your girl been up to. So that's why when she drove away, she called him a pervert. And the reason why my speculation, she called him a pervert because she was basically letting him know the reason why it started is because when we was in Aruba and you said, oh, that girl's like my sister and that's like my little sister, and then you came walking out to the pool, Karen, and you seen him all over his little sister, you were like, you're a pervert. And listen, she held on to that receipt. So she's probably letting him know you're a pervert and whatever Higgins tells you, and she didn't want to tell him too much context because she didn't know what was going on. Whatever Higgins tells you, keep in mind, you acted up like a pervert, and that's the reason why I wanted to get back at you. And that's what I think went down. But my main thing was going in this whole trial, I got plenty of pushback because I used to mention that why
Yeah.
doesn't Karen ever mention Higgins? She never mentioned him ever once. When she even got arraigned, indicted in June, there was 120 days from February till June. Now, when she's inside the garage getting arraigned and they're reading her new charges off, she says, is this a joke, right? Brian Albert and Colin beat him up. She never said Higgins. I was seeing a guy named Higgins. And here's another thing. If she would have just said from the jump, from the rip, from the start, I was talking to a guy named Higgins, and I think he might have had something to do with it. And then when people say, JFK, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, then let me just end it with this. Why was there 11:54 a.m. text? John died to Higgins.
Yeah.
So what does she know? And just to say this, put a button on it. John died. It wasn't John's dead. It was
Right.
John died. It wasn't like
Right.
John's dead. Come help me. John died. As if she was sucking the situation out, or as if she was continuing a conversation. I'll just leave it
Yeah.
at.
Well, that's interesting. What you're saying is, and by the way, the thing that I agree with you on, I think they got there closer to 12:20, 12:23 or whatever it was. I think whatever happened to him happened right then, and this 12:32 shit like doesn't matter. It's like I think that it's very possible that he was incapacitated and they used his face to open his phone and stuff. I've said this like a bajillion times in my shows. This is not a revelation. But what you're saying, and I think it makes sense, look at us being like detectives here, is people, when they tell a story, they tend to put themselves in the best possible light, right? So they keep out the worst details about themselves. So it would make sense. I mean, if she heard through the tip for the Steve Scanlon tip that he was beat up in the house, and I think Colin probably ran his mouth to some people or whatever, then she was able to say that and then divorce herself a little from the Higgins thing because it made her look not great, right? So that's super
But it,
interesting. And
but it,
the
but
other
it.
thing that you said, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. What's the other
Oh,
thing
the
I
other
said?
thing that you just said that's new to me is that the waterfall is tiny because the prosecution, when they show that video split up, they make it look like he could have been looking like it was really far away. And like,
Hello.
remember that moment in this trial where they were like, what direction is he looking? And they wouldn't let the witness answer the question because it was off camera.
Right. Well, when you
Yeah,
see
but
the
it was
video, the
tiny.
waterfall video, James Jackson plays John O'Keefe. I play Higgins. It's not no Hollywood production, but we're in the waterfall with a tripod, with microphones on, and believe me, they didn't see us coming at 10 a.m. I'll tell you that. You know,
Yeah.
and we did it, and we did something that no one did, and we broke it down, and we narrated it, and that's what we did. We stayed at the waterfall because if you want someone else to do this, it had to start somewhere, and that's what it was. That was the issue. And then you just go back with the common sense will dictate. The next morning, right? If they had nothing to do with it, the next morning. They cleared the whole scene. The whole scene was over with, right? And you had two decorated dudes in the house. You had Brian Albert and Higgins. You mean to tell me them two dudes wouldn't have went outside and checked the area and did their own investigation? And if that would have been the case, they would have found 42 pieces of taillight, a hat, and a sneaker. So
Yeah.
there's no way. Why wouldn't they go outside? They like, what I mean? Just to talk about it. Like, damn, John died right here. Holy shit. Let's look around. Like, and it's on your lawn and you're a
Yeah.
Boston police officer. I mean, there's so much common sense. Another thing is why that morning did Jen McCabe didn't know Kerry. She knew Karen. She didn't know Kerry, but yet she buddied up with Kerry, and she didn't mind Kerry throwing them slights at Karen. If she was Karen's friend, she would have been like, "Listen, calm down. We don't know what happened." And here's
Right.
another common sense would dictate: if they really wanted to know what happened to John that morning, they would have just called Karen.
Right. That's yes, absolutely. And what's weird to me, and someone mentioned this to me, is like, why didn't Brian offer up his house as a place for the like police to come in, like when they
That's
were doing
another
their
good.
investigation? Like he could have been the command center place, instead of them using the Canton Police
And he
Department.
would have
Like it
though.
could,
If it really would have
hundred
been some
percent.
innocent shit, he would have been. They would have walked her into that police station. If what they're saying really happened, the Commonwealth says what really happened, Brian Albert would have walked her in. They knew that. Keep in mind, Jen McCabe said on the 911 call, she said the man and the guy. She said the
Yep.
man and the guy. She said it twice.
Distance.
Yeah,
Yep.
she said first she called 911. There's a man passed out in the snow, right? No, she said
Yep.
there's a guy
She
passed out
didn't
in the
say
snow.
officer down. She didn't say
Yeah.
officer down in the snow.
And then
Yeah.
they went, yeah, and then they went to Canton. And then she said, there's a man passed out in the snow. She started with the guy and the man. She doubled down. She knew if she said cops. And she knew if she would have ran in the house and got Brian Albert would have called the Boston police. And the Boston police would have flew through West Roxbury. They would have lit Canton up with the white and blue. Boston police would have been everywhere just to show their presence. And they would have showed their presence at the court. So that's just, like I said, that's just the common sense. And there's just more common sense to even think about when you put it into perspective with um, Jen McCabe, because Jen McCabe testified that Karen called her up at 4:55 a.m. with Kaylee and said, "I don't know where he is. He's at the waterfall. I left him there." And what did Jen McCabe say? She said, "Let me hang up with you and let me call Chris. I mean, let me call
Coco.
Julie. No, let me
Yeah. Oh
call
yeah, that's right.
Julie." and
That's
see
what
if
she
he
said. Yeah.
walked home with Chris. Well, why would you think he walked home with Chris when you just was talking to him on the phone? You told him to pull him back. You had eyes on the truck. You knew he wasn't there. Why would you do that? And then she did call Julie, and there's a reason why she called Julie, because someone would
Yes.
have to find that body, right? And when I
Yes.
say that body, be clear, we say body too much. John O'Keefe, rest in peace. Someone had to find it. So I think honestly, the person who was going to find it, my speculation was going to be Julie. She did call Julie to tell Julie, stand down. Julie was probably in the Walgreens parking lot. Her car was warmed up. She was
She
in
was
the
at
store.
Dunk's getting those donuts.
Yeah, well, she got the donuts right that morning. Went right through this blizzard, this supposedly blizzard. She opened up a car door, dropped 6 donuts off, and her testimony is as she dropped the donuts off and she's walking out the driveway. Now, keep in mind, there's Jen McCabe's trucks there, Higgins' trucks there. There's a bunch of cars in the driveway. She pulls up and she drops everything off because it's a ritual. And as she's walking out the driveway, hey, Julie, come here. We got to talk to you. And then she got briefed on what happened. That's what it was. The fact is that Jen called her at 4:55 and said, listen, because at 11:45 p.m. till 7:45 a.m. is the Canton's night shift. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why Higgins went back over to the police station to see who was on. They had a window of opportunity for the frame up. Check out the wordplay. Window of opportunity for the frame up. And Julie was probably the one that was going to walk in with the donuts, right? It seriously. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but this is how crazy this case is.
It doesn't sound crazy. It's
Oh,
just like all the stories they told were designed to make sense of something that they thought would be
exactly.
found out.
Mhm.
Like her daughter, Jen McCabe's daughter Allie, and the dog. People don't talk about this enough. She testified in the first trial that earlier that night on the 28th, her friends and she found a dog running around and they brought it to the Canton police
Yeah.
station.
Yeah.
There would have been fucking video from the Canton police station of her
That's
bringing
crazy.
that dog there. There would have been a police
So
report
many
from her
layers.
bringing that dog there. The reason, I mean, that was a backward. All the stories are designed to cover something backward. Like she may have had Chloe in her car, and someone may have seen her driving around the car with a dog in the car. But it's all designed that way. I've always wondered
Like
about
that.
Chris and Julie's role because
Well, that was their
Chris
role.
and
I think Julie was gonna be the one, like I said, to find John, bring the donuts and find. And then she called up and said, "Hold on, Karen called me blackout. Let me get back to you. Stand down for right now." She's in the
yeah,
Walgreens parking lot. Then she calls Karen back. Karen, and the biggest mistake Karen made that morning was picking up that phone call and entertaining Jen. And Karen, she didn't walk home with Chris. He didn't walk home with Chris. What if he got hit by a plow? Just come to my house. And then she called Kerry. And then that's how it all happened. And then when you realize when she testified, Jen McCabe, she testified that, I don't know, I was in a dead sleep. I woke up because she had to say that part because on record, they have the phone call to Julie. So she had to admit to that. But then when she got on the cross, Alan Jackson was like, was that you on the 911 call saying he got out the car? Was that you?
mm-hmm.
And she got all flustered. She turned to the side and she was like, yeah, that was me. I said it because Karen Reed told me she left them there. No, you didn't. No, she didn't. She told you that she left them at the waterfall. What is it?
Right,
When did it
right.
change? So basically, she admitted it. She admitted he got out the cop. That's like, to me, when the preponderance of evidence, likely that she's involved in it or likely that she's not, there you have it right there. I think that
Yeah,
was one of
whatever
the
you say
biggest lies.
soonest is whatever you say soonest to the event is closest to the truth, probably.
And
What
she
do you
lied
make of
right
this?
there on the stand. Within 2 days, she lied. Oh, she told me left
Yeah,
him off at the waterfall. And then Alan Jackson, oh, got out the car and the 911. No, 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 no. Karen told me she left him there. Really? Well, what do you mean? You just testified that she said she left him at the waterfall. When did she change her mind? And if she did change her mind, you didn't think that was weird and you didn't report it? You know?
yeah. What do you make of the 506 or '08 call to her sister Nicole that came out in this trial that we didn't know about before? Like, what do you think she was telling Nicole or
That she
Brian?
got
Because
that she got
they,
that she got Karen where she wants her,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
It's so interesting. Jen McCabe is just like such an interesting figure in this. What we always say on our show is that she's like the sports mom who like just needs to be in control of everything. Like, she brings the snack even though it's someone else's snack day because she's afraid that they won't actually do it. Like she's just like, And so the other thing that blows me away about this is that all the men at the center of this have let the women in their lives be like the public faces of it and take all the heat for it. You haven't heard it. You don't see Brian Albert attacking Turtle Boy on the street. You see Jill Daniels attacking Turtle Boy on the street. You
Right.
don't see Brian Albert on the stand, testifying to all this shit that Jen McCabe did when he was the one who like feeding her all the stuff because she called him like what 50, 60 times the next day. Uncle Brian.
Uncle Brian, and that's her best friend. She said she admitted that she grew up with him. That's her friend. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is this: they went on live TV. Procter gambled. They told Procter back in May, hey, do this little video for us on ABC and NBC. And if she gets found guilty, they will shine you right up and they'll have sympathy. They'll simp for you and maybe you'll get your job back. Well, that backfired. You're gambling with the shit, right? Boom. She got found not guilty. You look like an idiot. But then here we have the Albert family. Once that not guilty came out, they felt, and he was at the head of it, Big Bad Brian A. And what he said was very, very telling. He said, this is atrocious. This guy got murdered. Now, when you really think about it, right? Does if you really think about it, if Karen did this, right, it wasn't a murder.
No.
So why
And
did he say a
and we
murder?
know she didn't. And we know she didn't,
We
right?
know she
Even
didn't, but I'm
people
saying he never mentioned Karen, and then he said a murder. So,
right.
like, is he basically saying that a murder happened? And is he kind of putting it on Higgins' shoulder? Because he never once mentioned Higgins. He didn't
Yeah.
get Higgins' back. He didn't say what they're saying that me and Higgins did, or with like how Higgins got his back. With them a decorated dudes. He didn't put no plural to anything. He said
Yeah.
we did the right thing. There was a murder, and I think that's what's going to come out more and more as because now they already talked. So now you got Ted Daniels and people like yourself. Okay, you talk to them, talk to us. That was a soft interview. Let's
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
really talk about it.
Yeah.
So now
So
they opened up the conversation for sure.
Yeah, I've always been curious about Chris and Julie Albert because you know how like Colin Albert doesn't appear in any of the early police reports. It's like they made a point to make him not be in the house, like until later it was discovered that he was, and then all of a sudden he left at 12:10. So Julie and Chris allegedly weren't there. They drove by and what didn't go in and then went home. And I've always wondered because everybody agrees that they weren't there if they actually were there. I mean, that's just something I've always wondered
Then
because
the
as
police
far as
report
I
was in one of
know
the police reports, right? That they
that they
followed
were
him.
there.
Yeah, I mean they could have
Yeah,
been.
yeah. And
They 100% could have been.
they could have been. And you saw Chris involved in the thing at the door. Wouldn't he be curious or like about what's going to happen and maybe want to like be a part of whatever like the scuffle or like the confrontation was going to be? I think what you said that's super smart. I've always interpreted the Karen pervert messages as you are doing this thing that's like whatever the fuck you're doing, and I'm home with your kid, and that's fucked up. That's how I've always interpreted it. But I think that they're tying it to her finding out. The other thing, I just want to say this is like pure speculation.
Go ahead, go
Obviously,
ahead.
we're far off into speculation land. The other thing is, remember how Karina Kalakithis said she thought it was like super unusual that John kissed Karen on the head, right?
Yeah.
So she said, I've never seen a boyfriend do that to a girlfriend before. Sad, first of all, like you should be seeing that. But second, how I interpret that is she's never seen John be that affectionate with Karen before, right? So do you think that John was like making a show of being affectionate to Karen in front of
The
Higgins?
vibes. He knew the vibes because when he was talking about the plumber coming to the house, he said in the text, "Is he hot?
Yeah.
Is he
Yeah.
hot?" Like you said, like how you call Big Bad Brian A hot. Is he hot?
Yep.
He knew what was going on. He knew that she was doing. He knew what she was doing. Listen, man, you're a man. You see, the thing is, people say he's a big. You see, people say he's a big boy. He could have just dropped Karen. It's not that easy. When you got two
No.
kids, you're a Boston cop. You have and these kids are orphans, so to speak. And you can't just plug anybody into that role. See, nostalgia it got them caught the fuck up. That's what happened here.
Right.
They went back to 2004 when Ja Rule was playing, and you're always on time, and they lived their 20s, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hit and it brought everybody into this cozy feeling. Let's watch Netflix and put on mask and let's stay home. And it was kind of like family time. And
Yeah. Like Schitt's Creek time, right?
yeah. So they roped them up. It roped them in, right? And he has the kids and the simping. And it was a very like an emotional time, and it worked out because she had all these surgeries, and she was, probably getting over all the things she was going through, her mental, and then he did the kids, and it worked out perfect. And then all of a sudden the world started opening up, and then they started going out, and they started seeing each other in that light that they didn't see all the time. And then
Right.
so now he knows in the back of his head, damn, I went this long with this woman. My kids love them. I can't break down. I can't break this consistency with going to school or whatever have you. I can't just plug another girl here. So I have to make it up to her. So I think he let, kind of, he knew what was going on, that she was acting up. And that's what women do. No disrespect. And that's what men do too. She was checking her market value. He understood that. Right. And he was like, all right. And then he gave her a kiss on the head, like everything's okay. But Higgins didn't like that, because it's like you
No.
said, what happened at that house with them two? We don't know. Did she
Right.
turn the cheek on John? Because you got to keep in mind in the text messages too, when he said that, what did he say? I don't talk out of school. And she was like, that's not what I heard. And he got
Right.
all bent out of shape. Oh, what did you hear? Who said that? John? He couldn't, and honestly, he probably mentioned that on the car ride from New York. John said, he heard something. What did he hear about us? And then, big bad Brian A. Well, shit, he didn't hear nothing about me and you, did he? You know,
Yeah.
People get cuckoo, man,
They
especially
do.
when you got this ego. Ego will make decisions for you.
Don't you get the impression too that all these relationships, including Karen and John's, are just like super toxic, super loud, super like you look at them from the outside and you're like, why are you even together? Like, because that's the impression I get, because nobody looks happy in this entire story when they're together. Like the McCabe's look miserable, the Alberts look miserable. You don't see like husbands putting their arms around their wives. You don't see anybody protecting anybody. You just see this like group of deeply unhappy looking people.
Well, they're
And it's
covering up.
like,
They're covering up,
yeah,
and this is what they're here now. This is what it came. This is how it all unfolded, and it's Higgins is on the outside looking in. I feel like Higgins is gonna crack. I feel like they're gonna put it on him. I think the news story in the next 6 months is gonna be like, if they talk to any of these people and someone like yourself or myself say, hey, well, it's kind of like, well, we didn't do it. Well, and then someone asks them, well, do you think Higgins did it? He was at
we
the
don't know.
we don't
I don't
know.
know.
Maybe he did it with Karen. He texted her at 11:54. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is it
Yeah.
Higgins and her? And it's just anything to clean them up. And they're not, obviously Higgins would have been right there if they were still cool. They're not cool. Why not? That
Yeah.
speaks
Yeah.
volumes,
Where is
especially.
he? Also, where is he? Right. I saw that video that someone sent you where it sounds like he's on dispatch. Like, but I'm like, what
Yeah,
job would he have that he'd be doing that doesn't
that
make
wasn't
sense?
Higgins. That wasn't him
It
though.
didn't sound like him, but I don't think it was him. Is
Yeah.
he like, as far as you know, is he still working for the ATF? Is he still
Yeah,
like a
he's
person
still.
in the world?
So I know, I've been getting. Listen, in this game, you're in the same game as me. This
Not
I get.
really. Not as
Well,
deep as you.
I'll tell you, man. I get
I don't know Seaside.
Yeah, well, I get messages by all types of people. I get, listen. So what he was doing, he was with a woman in the gym. Like back in 2016, there was a certain woman in the gym. He would give her. She sent me what he gave her. He gave her an ATF hat, and he gave her pins, and he gave her card. He would give her merch. So that's what pulled his girlfriend out from Match.com, the girl he actually was with, because she hit me up and she was so mad that that's basically what she's seen him doing. And like she never seen the receipts from anything. And I posted that one time. Well, no, I never posted it. I said it. I say, hey man, Higgins, you was in the gym with this girl back in 2016, and a professional girl that works for, the state, put it that way. And you were trying to get with her, and you gave her an ATF hat, an ATF pin, and gave her a card. And I seen it. I looked right. I'm like, wow, this dude's a funny dude, right? Like
It's
ATF.
sad.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
So now this girl who opened up, she says when he used to take the bill, he used to get these coins that had they were these special ATF coins that had like the Boston Celtics on it, the Bruins and the Patriots, and they were like collector's items. And he would leave them on the table with the tip and say, "Hey, take that coin. It's going to be valuable someday." So,
Oh my
and that's
God.
what he did. Like he always gave merch out. Like, "Hey, I got something for you." Throw like somebody a hat, an ATF hat. So, like,
That's
yeah, he has.
sad. It's
Yeah,
sad.
he wants to be the clean guy. So
Yeah.
now everybody knows him as the guy in the back parking lot, the guy at the waterfall, the guy who wasn't in the video with Brian Albert. It's going to be real hard for him to shed that. It's tough, and you know we'll see what he got to say. He's got, he's probably not going to say nothing until he makes a deal. If he ever
Right.
makes a deal, the Fed's got to get real creative to charge him, to charge all these people, because murder is not something Feds do. Look what they did with Birchmore. They had to figure out a way to charge him. That's the biggest
Yep.
thing, the murder charge. How do you get it? So it's got to be
Yeah.
some type of organized thing. So they got to figure that out.
Yeah. So, what do you think is going to happen with the civil case? You think we're going to get depositions of all these people?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to some lawyers on that too. Some lawyers, some law tubers that talked to me, and one particular law tuber said that the insurance company just might throw some big money at them,
Yeah.
from the
I heard
cars,
the
and they
same thing.
and they
Yeah.
just might take it. But then again, these Alberts, man, they want to hear. I just can't. The segue, perfect segue. I just can't see why they're just not asking questions. And that would turn the whole tide of this. If they just, because now it's like, all right, Peggy, listen, I understand you don't like Karen. No one says you have to like her, right? You have your reasons. She did drop John off there, and and at the end of the day, shit went down. So you can feel whatever you want to feel. Um, but why don't you join right now? My thing I said on my show a week back. Why don't you guys like not buddy up, but like stand together, right? If Karen is what she says, right? Like, hey, I fought hard for John. Why don't you step up and say, all right, we don't want to be best friends with Karen, but we stand with Karen to open up an investigation.
Yeah.
Now what? Now what?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
imagine that hit the news cycle. Peggy and Karen in the same fucking room. I'm just saying, you want to know what happened to John? Do that. Shake it up. What do you got to lose?
Yeah, they have totally used Peggy O'Keefe in this situation. They've completely, like, again, brought her close. They bring everybody close that's useful, right? And, one thing that you also said was that, like, I said this in the show, but I've since learned that, like, uniformed cops can't go into court or whatever, but, like, you still don't see you have a dead Boston cop and you don't see a lot of tributes to John O'Keefe, like from the Boston police. And I think it's because everyone thinks that Karen Read didn't do it and they don't want to like appear as if they're supporting prosecuting her. Cause what I understand, like I know a couple people in law enforcement in Massachusetts and they're like, everyone knows Brian Albert is a piece of shit. Like everybody knows that. I mean, have you heard that when you've been asking around?
Yeah, and to add to that, to piggyback off that, West Roxbury is right next to Dedham, right? You could walk from that courthouse to West Roxbury. So they could have easily took a white and blue Boston police car. They had all state police lined up there. They could have took 3 or 4 cruisers that they don't use, and they could have lined them up in front of that courthouse just to show the presence of Boston police. They didn't even have to be cops there, just the cars, just to sit
Right.
there, just to say, "Hey," but there's none. It was all state police. It was like he wasn't even a cop.
Right. Right. So, can I just ask a clarifying question? So, like this Seaside dude, what have you talked about what he said to you on your show? Is there anything you can tell me?
Yeah, I mean, he just talked about that's what Brian Higgins does. He goes after dudes' girlfriends. He's been like this his whole life. He started out as an arson agent. He wanted a gun because if you're an arson agent, you can get the pistol. So he wanted to get the pistol. Some shit went down with him years ago too. Someone got killed on his watch. They blamed it on the kid Manuel or something like that. He broke that case down. I'm gonna get into that case. I don't know everything about it, but I got to get into it. But it's out there. You can Google Brian Higgins. I think the dude who died, the police officer got shot, and then the suspect died. But yeah, he just always wanted to be the cop, wanted to be the guy, and he just had these traits. But he said that he doesn't think he did it. As far as like because he's not a tough guy. He acts like a tough
Yeah.
guy, but he's not. And Higgins didn't like that. So like between the Seaside drop and we was in Cambridge when it happened, it actually happened at Cambridge Side Galleria where we met him, and that's why we called him Seaside, for the Cambridge Side Galleria.
That's so interesting that like I
Well,
wonder
the guy knew
if
who he was. That's
right.
that's the funny part. So we're walking through
Yeah.
the mall and we're getting stared down by a bunch of people, and we're just me and James Jackson, and we don't know why these particular people are staring us down. If you get my drift, and we're just like, why are they looking at us? And then next thing you know, one thing led to another, and hey, I watch your show, and it was like, oh really? Okay, which
Yeah.
side you on? I'm on your side. And by the way, I know Higgins very well, over 35 years. Okay, tell me a couple things.
You
And
just sort of like unlocked the key to get these guys to talk. You just unlocked it. All you have to do is get people on the people who know them on the record saying like he would never do that. He's not tough enough. He's actually a giant pussy. And then he'd probably be like, "What are you talking about? I'm not a pussy. I
Exactly.
did it." Because they are so like they're so driven by their egos and their image, and they don't give a shit that their image is terrible as long as like it's tough, right?
Right.
And if that becomes the line that they couldn't have done it because they're like not tough enough, like that might be the key to getting them to admit
I
something.
think that with Higgins, he heard the
So
seaside thing, and I think when he seen the reenactment video of how Smaller was in there, and it flashed in front of his face, like, man, and I kept saying it's all gonna come down on you, Higgins. Everything lines up with you. 12:20, you went back to the police station, like everything lines up with you. You were talking to Karen, and I was saying this back in December of last year. It's all eyes on you, Higgins, and this whole trial. I was telling everybody the Waterfall video. That's why I think I got put over to where I did because people used to tell me, "Why do you stay at the waterfall? Why do you do it every night?" I'm like, "Listen, this trial is going to be all about the waterfall." Believe me when I tell you, when it was, part of it. Then they made the swerve towards the end because every trial has its own energy, and so they made the swerve at the end when they said, "Okay, you know what? Let's just let's
focus on the
flip
collision.
the
Yeah.
collision and let's go there." And that's what they did. They put the waterfall out there for reasonable doubt, obviously, but they didn't bring Higgins in. They chose in in the last game, the seventh game, so to speak, the rotation, and they ran with that and they got the W.
Yeah. Do you think now that we know how smart the jury was, do you wish they'd brought Higgins in? I totally understood why they didn't, but I wanted them to bring him in so I could see him and so they could ask him if like he's the guy who called into your show, which they probably wouldn't have, but it would have been very funny.
I'm sure
But do you think
Alan Jackson probably would have said like, "Are you, like
oh,
maybe looked at him
100%.
like decorated dude or you wrong or like something like that.
Just to get under his skin because Alan Jackson does that in a way that's like very funny. And Hank Brennan tries to do it and fails because he's just like so
Karen
smarmy.
wanted us in the courtroom if he came in.
Yeah.
That
I
was
would oh
talked.
my God.
That was talked
That
about.
would have been incredible. So, what are you doing now? Are you still going to be like working on this and trying to crack it, or are you working on
It's
other
the
stuff too?
it's the pivot. It's the pivot.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
um, you
Because
know,
you're a detective. You're a detective. You know
Well,
that, right?
my people, my audience is I call them the long gamers. I do other things on my show. When you come up on my show, we play music, we have fun, we talk about things, and obviously we talk Karen Reed because people still want to talk about it. This case is
Yeah.
fascinating, and there's so many different swerves to it, and it just provokes stories, and it takes us back to a time, and I just feel that the generation that this case, basically analytically captured from the Gen X to the boomers. It's like a forgotten generation. And I feel like it gave wings to us. So I capitalized on that audience and said, hey, we're still in the game. We're not dead. So we have fun on my show. And I call my audience and my people the long gamers. They support my show. We have fun on my show. And we're gonna continue. Karen Reed wasn't exonerated. She got found not guilty. She still in the eyes did it, but just got found not guilty. So
He
we
was
got to
acquitted. Yeah.
yeah, we got to exonerate her. But more importantly, the pivot is all eyes on them, and we want justice for John. We want to know what happened. So we're still going to talk about that, and whatever else pops out there. There's so much to talk about.
Same, same. So when can I come on your show?
Let's
Let's
do
let's
it.
do
Let's
it.
let's
Yeah.
set it up. I'll run some times by you. I usually,
Yeah.
I can make it to where I can assist you on your time and
Yeah. Just
whatever.
shoot me an email and
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. But I'd love to
We'll
come
have
on
fun,
your
and we
show.
could go through all the stuff we just talked about, like with the images and stuff, and we could get different opinions and let the
Yeah.
chat get involved. Because back to what you said, the chat. I always say with the long game is, it's what the chat says, and when the chat says something, you kind of take it, and then you could kind of go with the wave of the chat, so it gets fun.
Do you think Higgins is still watching your show?
I mean, I think he definitely watched since the not guilty, because like, to see the reaction of what you just said, he didn't come on the stand, or especially like when it was talked about, is he coming on the stand and what our reaction was going to be. And I think he wanted to know if we were going to be there because, we were showing videos of us down in Dedham. So I'm pretty sure he was, expecting if he did go there, we would, because James Jackson, actually, my co-host, actually went to the courthouse twice. I didn't go, but he was there twice. So I'm sure he was probably thinking, damn, these dudes are gonna be in the courthouse, and it's gonna be awkward looking at these guys, you know what I mean, looking at me. So I'm sure he paid attention. I don't know if he watches every show, but hey, we know he did watch, for sure.
Yeah. It is awkward. I mean, I've been on court TV a few times and they put me on with John DePietro once and I freaking hate that guy. So for so many other reasons besides just this case, like he's just like a bad person, right? And they invited me down to Dedham to do a live show. And I was like, kind of hoping that it would be with DePietro, but also I was like, that's going to be awkward. Like, but it was with that Plevin dude. So,
Cleveland,
you
yeah.
know, we didn't really know each other. So he didn't know enough to like be awkward with me before the thing. And, but now I think it would be more awkward. But I was really kind of hoping because that awkwardness sometimes is kind of awesome. You know what I
It
mean?
is. It is. You're right. You got it. You could feed off it. You can feed off it. It's funny.
Yeah.
I did 94.5, the morning show, last time I was in Boston. I did the morning show with Ashley, and we talked about the whole Higgins phone call. So that went crazy. Everybody in Boston
Yeah.
heard. You know,
I
there's a
saw
whole,
that video. I
yeah,
saw you in the studio telling them
yeah.
that.
There's
I
a
follow
lot of
you, man.
there's a lot of new people clicking onto this case too. I've been getting a lot of new subs of people who just got onto this case who are casual fans. They're not like me and you know the ins and outs. They just like, wow, she got found not guilty. So what happened then? You know, like what really happened? So she's not guilty. Like, did they do it or did she do it? So they kind of still want to hear the story and kind of figure it out. So I mean, it's there. And I'm at this point, I had to tell my audience too. I said, listen, at this point, I'll have anybody on the show as far as obviously don't be a rude piece of crap, but I'll have anybody on the show if even if they think Karen did it. Because at this point, because before you couldn't even do that in this movement. You couldn't have because I had Kate Peters on my show and she called in and I went back. Did you see that?
Did?
Oh yeah, that's on there. That go to my
Oh my
YouTube.
God.
Oh
That
yeah,
woman, man.
she randomly called in. She randomly called in. The same thing happened. The chat took control. I didn't even know who she was at the time. You know, I stay 39,000 feet. I call like, you know, so what happened was I live in Georgia now. So the internet in Georgia, it, it, it it's I have the best internet, but the towers in Georgia is trash where I'm at. It just is what it is when it comes to streaming. Not other things, but the streaming. If so, I got to go in my car to get to certain right. So people
That was
started
gonna be my
attacking me.
last question for you. Like, why are you in your
Well,
car?
now people started attacking me. Oh, he's in his
Oh,
car. He's stealing fucking. He's a junkie. He's in stealing Dunkin' Donuts. You know,
no.
no, no. Oh yeah, oh yeah. When I
I
first
thought it was a
started,
style choice and it
no,
really
no. So
made
what I
me
did was
laugh.
I turned around and said, what are you talking about? This ain't a car. This is a 777 jet. I'm a fucking pilot. I said, what are you talking about? I said, we're 39,000 feet, you know, above. And then, you know, I used to see people talking shit in the chat. So I started shaking the camera and I'm like, turbulence in the chat, you know, and I create off the feed off it. And that's what happened. So, you know, obviously I do lives where I'm at right now too. But I stay in my car sometimes because I go to the gym at that time. It's when I move around at that time. So it's kind of like it fits into jumping alive real quick to get in the zone. It kind of like I kind of like it now. But
I think it made it better. I think it
yeah,
made it better.
but so
The
the
Higgins
point,
phone call especially because
yeah,
you called him out and you were sitting in your car and you like still because I'm sure your audio isn't like perfect when you're listening in your
yeah, well,
car.
I got the headphones on. I got the mic. That's another thing too. Sometimes you got to sacrifice the aesthetic. Sometimes not
Totally.
everything could be not. Sometimes not everything because I'm a videographer. So sometimes I do content to where it's like, okay, I knew I could have did a video. I could do cinema, but sometimes not everything's got to be a knockout bull. Sometimes you can just jab them. So when it comes to the streaming stuff, I think that if your content, as far as what you're saying and who you are, is strong, and you know, and then you make it aesthetically, you know, good enough, and it all evens out. You know, I think some people just get caught up on the look, but they ain't got the content, they ain't got the creativity, and they think, oh, the
Right.
look is what's going to get them the views. Well, you got to have everything's going to be working at the same time.
You got to be
So
smart. You don't
yeah,
have
you
to be
got to
pretty,
be.
but you got to be smart.
Yeah, so you know, but yeah, that's what happened with that situation. So, um, you know, people talking crap in the and so like I told my audience, I said, listen, I said, now we don't have to worry about so with Kate Peters, that's what I was saying. So Kate Peters, same situation. I didn't know Kate Peters at the time. I'm in my car, people are talking hella shit in the chat, and I'm like, who's KP? Who's Krusty Peters? What are you talking
Now,
about?
I just want to remind the audience who that is. That's the woman who hates Turtle Boy so much because he fired her and they had this like years long feud and she hates him and she's done other legal stuff to him before this case. And he said on my show that if he was anti Karen Reed, she would have been pro Karen Reed because she does the opposite of
Right.
whatever. And she's the one who helped that other woman, Lindsay, set him up with the cops and to get him on wiretapping and sexual assault, which was not a real charge. It was dropped and all that stuff. That's her. That's Kay
That's her.
Peter. So she came on your
Well,
show.
that's what happened.
What did she say?
So basically, like I said, the car thing turned into 39,000 above the bullshit. So when she called in, um, she was, talking shit or whatever in the chat, and I didn't know who she was. I'm 39,000 above the bullshit. I don't know who this girl is. So then the chat was like, have her call in, because I do call in. So I was like, all right, have her call in. But little did I know who this girl is. So we went head to head and debated. And it's up on my page, and and I put her in her place, and she was just doing what Plevlin does, same thing. Oh, the tail light was there, and this was that, and I caught her up a couple of good times, but I think I
She
probably
said,
gave.
I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, which she did
Yeah.
not say.
And
Yeah.
same thing, one main thing that I'll say on your show is, if people don't go and watch the K Peters things, is that I told her, I said, there was a plea on the table with Karen back in during the time when she was in district court, in that 4-month window before they
That's
indicted
why they
her.
upcharged her, because they were
Yeah.
trying to get a plea. Yeah.
And I said, she didn't take the plea. And then I asked her, I said, you're on probation, right? She goes, yeah. I go, did you do it? She said, no. And I go, but you still took the plea. She said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, well, if Karen did it and they offered her a house bid for 2 years, why wouldn't she just take the plea? She couldn't answer it, you
Right.
know? So that was a good little hit on her. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
kept
says everything. That says everything. And I don't think she would in her civil case, if lawyers that are representing her side, she still has to approve a settlement and with depending on who it is that's doing it. And like I don't think that she will ever, ever, ever agree to anything where people could point at her and say she did it. Because she's just like that's what I think. I just don't
more
think
work to
she's
do. We got
yeah.
more work to do. And hey, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna see what happens on in that, and we'll see. Karen's gonna come out, and Alan Jackson's gonna be on Turtle Boy on Saturday. And we heard some
Can't
Yannetti
wait.
interviews and Alessi's, so it's cool, man. And now it's like, okay, people are coming out and talking. The question is, you guys jumped out the window. Big bad Brian A, Jen McCabe, man, clean Chris A. You guys jumped out there. What's up? We want to forget these soft interviews. Jump on one of our channels, man. Say what you need to say. You're
You're
not
gonna get
witnessing.
those guys. I think you're gonna get those guys. They might call in pretending to be somebody else, but you're gonna
We'll
get them.
see. We'll see.
Well, JFK, I can't tell you what a pleasure it's been talking with you, and I am coming on your show, so let's
Let's do
email,
it.
all right?
Yeah, I'm gonna get
Thank
that
you so
going.
much.
I appreciate your time, sweetheart. We'll talk soon,
Thank
okay?
you.
All right, peace and love.
Bye.